It's just gone 12 o'clock, so I'm going to kick off and get started. So if this is your first session of the day, welcome to Unlock Office 365 for your classroom, or what I like to call it as the keys to Office 365. So I'm just going to give people another couple of minutes to join in there. So the attendees are still going up there at the moment. So as people join in, I'll get started in just a minute. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and start off the session. So it's Ashley coming to you again today here on Summer Sessions. So what I want to look at in this session with you today is the basics of Office 365. So we're going to look at navigating the 365 homepage, the settings in Office 365 and how to get the most out of them. You know, I want to take a quick look at working with emails in Outlook, and I suppose a couple of tips and tricks there to help you, I suppose, maximize your use of time and stay away from, I suppose you can get lost in email. So I'm going to try and give you a couple of tips there to get out of the email rabbit hole. So cloud storage and OneDrive, uploading files and folders to OneDrive, creating new files and then sharing files and folders. Okay, so to try and keep me on track here, I've set this presentation up today. It's a little bit different, not your typical style presentation. I'm using OneNote. And as I go through each of the steps, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to tick them off. Okay, so people are still joining there. So welcome if you've just joined in. We're going to have a quick look at the basics of Office 365 and some tips and tricks on how you can maximize your use of time within that platform. So I'm going to go ahead and click across to the Office 365 homepage. So I have a reminder there, I'm 2 minutes overdue. I'm just going to dismiss that. Okay, so when you log into your KWETB Office 365 account, this is your homepage. Okay, so this is where you find all of your apps, your emails, your cloud storage with OneDrive, and all the different applications that you have access to with your educator account in your KWETB email. Okay, so a really quick tip here, if you just have a look at the actual home page, up here there's 9 dots on the left hand side, the app launcher, or it would have been originally known as the waffle menu. If you click on that, that brings up all of your applications. Okay, so the popular ones are listed at the top, and then you can click on all apps to access the rest of the applications available within Office 365. What's really important here is no matter what Office 365 application you're in, that app launcher or waffle menu is there. So to come back here or to navigate to a different app, all you ever have to do is click on those 9 dots up on the left hand side, and it's really, really handy. Okay, so also in here you can see your notifications. So they're kind of signaled there with a little bell button. You have settings as well, so you can change the theme. You can choose something that works for you. I'm going to go with the unicorn style here for today. So you can also switch it across to dark mode if you prefer that. You can turn it on or off. There's different settings there that you can explore as well. So you can also have a look there by clicking on your initials icon up the top, and you can access your Office profile or your My Account there as well. Okay, so what's quite cool as well is with our Office 365 educator accounts, you can install Office on up to, I think it's 5 devices. So you can download desktop versions of your kind of favorite go-to apps there. So you can have Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and I believe Access actually is available there if you download your install Office as well. So when I click here on all apps, you know, it opens up into a bigger window and it shows you all the apps that we actually do have access to within our Office 365 account. For today, I'm just going to look at the main ones. And the shortcut back to Office 365, click on your app launcher menu, and then click Office 365 and that will bring you home. Okay, so there's a shortcut here. If you just click on Start New, from here you can create a new document, a new spreadsheet, a new presentation, a OneNote notebook, a survey in Forms, a quiz in Forms, or a page in Sway. So you can create interactive content in there within the Sway application. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that today, but it's just a shortcut if you want to start a new document. So I'm going to come back here and just have a check and see what I'm looking at. So navigating the 365 homepage, I've covered that. So nicely in here in OneNote, I'm going to tick that off as done. Okay, so the settings I'm going to have a look at now and working with emails in Outlook. So a really quick tip, I might have to change how I'm sharing this to show you. So just bear with me for a second. So I'll need to share my desktop with you. Okie doke. So hoping that has worked. Okay. So I need to turn this off. Okay, there we go. Got it. Okay, so quick tip. When you are in your Office 365, if you want to create a shortcut to that on your desktop, if you just click into the address menu and then Control-C, so the shortcut for copy, if you come across to your desktop, if you right click on it and click New and then go to Shortcut, if you Control-V, so paste that URL in and click Next, so I'm going to just call that Ash 365 and finish. That will give you a shortcut on your desktop to access your Office 365 account. So anytime you click on that shortcut, I'm going to just try it now. Make sure it works. There we go. So I'm in my Office 365. Okie doke. So back to the main homepage on Office 365. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick look at Outlook. Okay, so I have a test email in here already that I sent to myself. So when you get a new email, it shows up here in green. Okay, and there's a couple of things that you can do with that. I'm going to click on it to read it. So it's showing up in the preview pane. Over here, you have a thumbs up option to like the email. You can click on the single left arrow to reply, or the double left arrow to reply all, or the right arrow to forward that message on. I'm going to take a quick look at the 3 ellipses here just to see what more actions we have available. So there's other things that you can choose to do in there. So you can delete it, mark it as read, flag it, print, and change the view. So you can open it up in a new window there if you'd like to work on it separately. So a really quick tip here, you know, if you can sometimes tend to, I suppose, get distracted by your emails or, you know, not want to work on them when they come in. If you flag your email, it puts a little red flag on it for follow-up. And that's really handy there if you want to get on with something or you're working on something. So basically I can then filter my emails by clicking on the down arrow and filter and just select flagged. So that will bring me up the emails that I have flagged, so I know I need to go back to them. You can also go ahead and add it to a to-do list, which is also built into your Office 365. I'm not going to go in there now, but it's just something that you can do. So flagging emails is really, really useful if you're trying to, I suppose, maximize your time. You can very easily get lost down a rabbit hole of working through emails. Now, see this little recycle bin there? Every so often I click on that, or every so often I click on that by mistake and it deletes my email. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. When that happens, if you just go down here to deleted emails, you can click in there and here is my email. Okay, so if I right click on that, I can choose to restore it back to my inbox. Okay, so back to my inbox. There we go. I think I actually restored a different email. Anyway, here we go. This one. Right click, restore. There we go. Back here. Okay, so that is working through you know, if you delete an email by mistake, if you want to set something like that up. So if you want to have a look at your sent items, you can click into the sent items box. Drafts is really useful as well. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this email here in my inbox, and I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to click reply. So I'm going to start writing an email to myself here. If I spelled my name correctly, it would be useful. So I'm just going to say that and blah, 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 blah. Okay, I don't want to do anything more with that now. I'm going to go log on to an online class. I have something else to do. But that has automatically saved as a draft, so I can return to that later. So if you click on your drafts here, you'll see that I have that email here. So that's how you would access that. And then you can go ahead and send it at a later time. But I suppose it's a handy way of getting things started, or if you want to kind of work on something over a piece of time, if you're sending an email that's important, if you want to start it and kind of finish it up. I also use that for getting emails that I want to send out maybe to students ready. It's a handy placeholder there if you pop them in. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at there is, you know, if someone sends you an email, or if it's particularly if it's an external email, or if it's a link to an online webinar or something like that, sometimes they don't come through to your actual inbox up here. So you may not find them, and you'll notice that your inbox is split between focused and other. So a lot of the time the spam ends up in other, but there is another other as well. So down here you have junk email. So if you're expecting an email or a link or something to come in, if you can't find it in your inbox, it is worth checking your junk email. Okay, so there's a couple of other functions in Outlook here that you can have a look at. So there's a calendar down the bottom. So if you click across, you can kind of add different events to your calendar. I have switched across pretty much to using the calendar within Teams. I just find it works for me. The items are starting to kind of sync up between the two calendars, and the functionality is not 100% there yet, but it's getting there. But it's handy to have that online calendar if you want it. The to-do then is down the bottom here as well. So if you want to make a to-do list, or if you want to make a plan for the day, you can add different tasks and tick them off. I'm not going to go into that just now, but it is there if you want to explore it. Okay, so let me see how I'm getting on. Excuse me. So working with emails I have done. I'm not finished with the Office 365 settings. I want to show you a bit more about that. So I'm going to come back here again and just have a look at Outlook. Okay, so when we're in Outlook here, I want to come across and just look at my account, my settings. That's what I wanted to look at. Let me see. Okay, so when I come down the bottom there, I just want to view all Outlook settings. So I want to come
Ashley, sorry.
At my settings.
Ashley, can I pause you for a second?
You can indeed.
You have a question there for someone. They want you to repeat how to paste 365 onto your desktop.
No problem. No problem at all. It's a lifesaver. So basically, when you're in your Microsoft Office homepage, so this page that I have up at the moment, if you go up and click on the URL, so the address menu at the top, and if you just click to the right hand side of that, it nicely highlights all of it, but you can drag and click to highlight it either. So when it's highlighted, when it's blue, if you on your keyboard just press Control-C, that automatically copies that to the computer's clipboard for you. So if I minimize down then, if you right click anywhere on your desktop at all with your mouse, go to New, Shortcut, and then in here you need to Control-V. So on your keyboard, press Control and V together at the same time. That pastes the address from the internet in there. Just click Next. And then I'm just going to put in number 2 in there and finish. that will create a shortcut to your Office 365 homepage. Now, are there any other questions in there? Let me have a look. Okay, I'm going to go ahead for now. Excuse me. Okay, so back to settings. And I'm just going to go to down the bottom there. There's an option for view all Outlook settings. Just going to open that up. Okay, so in here, you've different options that you can play around with to manage your email account. All right, I'm not going to look at the layout today, but they are there. So in compose and reply. So if you go into compose and reply, you can add an email signature to your emails so that you don't need to type it each time. So for example, just typing this in. Okay, and then I can choose whether I'm going to set it to automatically include my signature on all new messages that I compose, or to include it on messages that you forward or reply. So you can click the two of them there. You will see it coming up in your email anyway, so you can edit it or choose to delete it, and I'll show you what that looks like. Actually, I'll show you now. Isn't that easier? So basically, save. So if I go to new message, you can see that Outlook has automatically popped my email signature in there for me. All right, so that's there. I'm just going to discard that message. Okay, so if I come back to the settings quickly here. Okay, so there's other options in here that you can choose to work with. All right, so I had a look there at the email signature, so that's quite handy to have. You know, you can have a play around here, explore it. You know, you won't break it, no matter what you do, it won't break. So just have a look around, navigate the different things, and choose what you want to do with them. So you can also look at automatic replies. So when you're on holidays, you can leave an out of office message that will automatically go to anybody that sends you an email. So you can turn that on, choose the start and end time, and then it will give you an option to type in your text that you want to add to your automatic reply, which is nice to have on there when you're taking leave or you're on holidays. Okay, so back to check where I'm at. So I had a look at the office settings that I wanted to cover. That's done. Okay, so next I want to look at the cloud storage in OneDrive. Okay, so when I'm talking about cloud storage, what am I talking about? Basically, it gives you, I suppose, an online platform where you can store all of your files, your documents, your PowerPoints, your emails, everything all in the one place. I suppose the beauty with Office 365 as well is it enables access to your documents and email from anywhere, so long as you have a device with internet connection. So you can access your files, your documents, all your Office 365 account from anywhere once you're connected. And basically what that means is that your documents are stored in the cloud. They're on data servers elsewhere, but they're secure, they're protected, and they're backed up. You know, and that's the beauty of having the Microsoft account, in the sense that I suppose we don't have to worry about backing up those files. You know, it kind of, it's not that long ago since I had about 10, 15 USB keys, a hard drive, all knocking around the place, backing up my files, you know, and it was an absolute nightmare, you know, and then the USB breaks and, oh yeah. So Office 365 is a lifesaver when it comes to storage. So with our educator accounts, we have access to 1 terabyte of storage. So I heard somewhere recently that that's actually, it's something along the lines of 60 million one-page Word documents. You know, so for anyone out there who has a lot of files or a lot of documents, you should have enough cloud-based storage to save all your and organize all your files. So with that in mind, I'm going to move on and take a look at the OneDrive app. So back to my home page, and I'm going to open up OneDrive here and have a look at it. Okay. So when OneDrive opens up, you are automatically brought to your own OneDrive account. That means these are your files, okay? So what that means is, you know, you have access to your own storage or your own filing cabinet online. So whatever you put in here, unless you share it with somebody else, they won't have access to it. So these are your somewhat private documents, and you can see that over here on the right. Okay, so none of these documents are shared. So it shows me that they're private. That would come up differently and display, and I will be able to hover to see who they're shared with if I hit them shared out. It also gives you a quick look at the file size, when they've been modified and who they've been modified by. Okay, so over on the left here, basically the navigation within all the Office 365 platforms is fairly similar, and that makes it pretty user friendly. So I can click here to look on my recent files. So that brings them up. I can look at my shared files. So these are files that have been shared with me by somebody else. Okay, so that's how you find them. There's a recycle bin here as well. So if you accidentally delete something from your OneDrive, you can go to your recycle bin and you can restore them back. Okay, so if you right click there, you can click to restore it back. So that's, I suppose, what's really important to learn, you know, to get the most out of Office 365. You know, if you're not finding an instant button or kind of something's not jumping out to you, if you right click on it, you will more than likely get options to do something with it. Or if you look for 3 ellipses, that tends to also give you more options. Okay, I'm using the FET demo account here, so I don't have any shared libraries in here, but for those of you who are working in SharePoint groups or sites, this is where your SharePoint sites open up so that you can access the shared OneDrives that you might have as part of a staff team. Okay, I can also choose to empty my recycle bin, which looks after and cleans up my storage. So I'm going to go ahead and actually do that. So recycle bin emptied, so it's nice and clean. I'm going to come back to my files. Okay, so in here, when you are, I suppose, converting across or merging across to use Office 365, it's really important to think about a file structure, because if not, it can just become a chaos of different files and very difficult to navigate, very difficult to find things. So really think about how you're going to, I suppose, save your files, or how you're going to name them, which is really important. And to do that, up here, you have an option for new. So again, you can choose new folder, new Word document, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, Forms, or what's really cool is you can put in a link. So if you use something like Khan Academy or a TED Talk or a channel on YouTube, if there's some kind of content out there that you use very regularly, you can click on this link button to put in a web page or a file that you want to add there. So that's really, really useful. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and just show you what it looks like. So I'm going to just do it with Khan Academy, just because it's what popped into mind. So again, if you click up in the address bar, the URL will highlight. Control-C together to copy that across. And then just need to come back. So into my OneDrive again. Sorry, there's something blocking my window, but basically new link over here, Control-V, create. So now I have a link to Khan Academy within my OneDrive. So it's really useful there if there's websites that you use regularly, or resources, you can kind of put them in here in your OneDrive by using that link function. Okay, so the next thing that I want to look at is creating a folder. So if you click on new, create folder, then you can choose your folder name. Now, there isn't necessarily a gospel way of doing this. You know, you should definitely 100% do it this way. But what I tend to do is try to think about what makes sense to me. And I tend to organize it either by subject or module or by class group. It depends on, different people have different ways of working, but it has to work for you. So I'm just going to go ahead and call this IT. And I'm going to go with just 2A and 2020. I'm working with class 2A. They're studying IT for the year 2020. Great. Okay, so I have a folder here. So if I click in here, within here, I can create new folders. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and create new folder. And for example, it might be planning. Okay, and then another one might be the internet. Within there, I will put all my relevant files or documents for working on the internet. I'm going to go with another one. So within there, I will have all my planning materials will go in here, and then all my learning content or anything relevant to spreadsheets will go in here so that I will be able to find it. Okay, now what's coming up there next to my folders is I have an option here to select people to share it with. So you can decide who can view it when you do that just by clicking here. So you can't give access to anyone with the link because we don't have those permissions, but anybody in KWETB with the link, people with existing access, or you can give specific people access. What's really key down here is if you want them to be able to edit it, you have to click to allow editing. Okay. Or you can copy a link and email that across, and that will work for anybody within KWETB. So that is sharing. Then these are the 3 ellipses that I was talking about. When they come up, that means that there's more options. So I'm going to click on that just to have a look. So you can choose to open that file. You can share it from in here. Again, you can copy the link, email that out. So you can manage the access. So if you shared that with somebody by mistake, or you've shared it with them and they no longer need access, you can click in there to change that access. So you can also download that file and store it or work with it on your computer, and that will just download into the documents on your computer. You can delete it, move it, copy it, rename it. Okay, so there are some of the main kind of options that you have there to work with a file within Office 365. Okay, so I'm just going to come back and check where I'm at. So using cloud storage in OneDrive. Okay, so I need to take a look at how to upload files and folders. The process for there is the same. Okay. Okay. So when I go into my files on OneDrive, I am here. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is if you use split screen. Okay, to split screen, you click on the double boxes or restore down up in the right hand side, and then click on the top of your browser, but not on the tabs. Okay, so not on the tab spaces, but here. If I left click and hold there, I can drag that around. But if I drag that over to the left, see where it's kind of filling the back there, I can pop that up there. Okay, so I don't want to fill it with either of them. Sorry, I dropped off there. I hope I'm back. Okay, so I was just doing split screen. I'm going to show that off again so that you can see that in full. Okay, so in my browser window, if you click on the double boxes up in the top right hand corner to restore down, you can click anywhere on the top of your browser then. If you left click and drag, you can fill half your screen. And then I'm going to come down here to my File Explorer. So that's the icon down the bottom that looks like a file. And then you can choose whether you're sharing from your desktop, downloads, documents, etc. So you can go ahead and look through all of that. Okay, so I'm just going to use this folder for the example. So now I have two windows open and I can work side by side. So I have my OneDrive on the right and I have my file manager on the left here. So I'm going to go ahead, left click this folder, drag it and drop it to my OneDrive. So that is now uploading. And that works with any document at all. So I will show you how that works with a Word document. So I'm opening Word and I'm just going to go with a blank document. So making learning great. File. I'm going to quickly save it to my desktop. Making learning great. Save. Okay, so I can X off that file. Here is my Word document. Again, if I left click that, I can drag it across and pop it to my OneDrive. If I want to put it into a file, I can hover over the particular folder within OneDrive and it will let me do that. Okay, so that is how to upload. I'm going to come back. So uploading files and folders, done. I'm going to have a quick look at creating new files and then sharing is last. Okay, so I'm going to go back here to my Microsoft Office homepage. Okay, this is where all the magic happens. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new Word document. And I'm just going to go with blank. But if you haven't explored here, there is tons of templates here that are already made. And you can actually search just for education templates. And there's everything from program plans to exit tickets to different resources there that teachers can use. There's a huge library of education templates there that you can access. So if I go ahead and click on blank document. Okay, so this is Word Online. And there is a difference between Word Online and then the desktop version. So the file that I just created and uploaded to OneDrive was in the desktop app. Okay, now I have Word Online open, which is different. This is automatically saved to the cloud for me. Now, quick tip here, up the top, it's at the moment saved as just document. So I want to change the name on that. And I'm going to call that just Microsoft 365. Okay, if I just click out of that, that's that file renamed. Okay, and that for me is really, really handy. You know, you can click on that to change the name of it or to rename that file while you're working on it, which is really, really cool. Okay, so within here, you can just go ahead, type your document, do whatever you need to do, and it automatically saves that. You can also choose to then open it in a desktop app if you want. The functionality is a little bit different across the two, but it's up to you what way you want to edit it. You know, as much as possible, try to work and edit your documents in the cloud. That way they are secure, they're backed up, and they're available. It's a more productive way of working, and it's a safer way of working. So that's what I would recommend there. But I'm just going to close down that document for now, and I'm going to come out of Word. So how do I find that? So I've just clicked across to my OneDrive. Okay, and down here you have M365. So that is the Word document that I was just working on. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is look at how to tidy this up a little bit, because I have an issue with filing, so I need to keep it clean. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new folder. And I'm going to call it Keeping It Tidy. I always have one of these folders. It's basically where I put everything until I have somewhere to put it. So Keeping It Tidy is there. So if I click on that file, I can just drag it up to Keeping It Tidy. And that has now moved. Again, making learning great. If I click on that file, I can just drag it up. Okay, so it's really easy to move it around once you know how, of course. So again, keep an eye out for the 3 ellipses. They're really, really important for when you're working on different things. You know, within your OneDrive, you can create new files up here. So it works the exact same with PowerPoint. Try it out. Okay, so here's my new PowerPoint. Again, same process. To rename your presentation, just click in the box. With PowerPoint. Click out of it. Okay, in case you haven't seen it, within the desk or within the online PowerPoint, you have a designer feature, which is really cool. It changes the workload that you have to do when creating content. It really reduces it. So if I click here, it brings it in, but there's tons of different options there with pre-made templates. It also has kind of like machine intelligence in there that can tell when something looks good. So if you, on the Home tab, you can choose to open or close that designer, and that's there. So it generates design ideas based on what you have typed in. So for example, if I go ahead and type in communications, and hopefully it will work now, but there we go. So it senses or it picks up the text that I've typed, and it generates kind of what they think will look well, or it gives you relevant images. So definitely have a play with that and check out the designer in PowerPoint. It can save endless hours. And what's really cool about it as well is, like, if you're working with bullet points or if you want to compare ideas on a slide, it also picks that up. So it gives you different layout options to make it look nice and clean, so that you can really, I suppose, generate high quality content in half the time. So that's just PowerPoint Designer. So I've saved that, and that's automatically saved. You can see up the top. So I'm going to come out of that and go back to my OneDrive. So again, playing with PowerPoint, that's down there. I want to keep it tidy. So if I left click and hold my click, drag my file up to keeping it tidy, it moves it in there nice and cleanly for me. So that's that. So I'm just going to go back and have a look at what I'm doing. So creating new files, I've had a look at that. So very quickly, I want to have a look at sharing files and folders. And then after that, I will take any questions. Okay, so I'm in here and I want to share. Actually, I'm going to just go back to files. So I'm going to share my IT2A folder that I created already. I'm just going to share it with myself, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to share it with my actual KWETB email. So click share. Okay, and then enter a name. So you can see I come up there. And then you can choose again who you want to share that with. So whether it's people in KWETB with the link, people with existing access. I don't have existing access. I've given specific people because my email is in there, and then you can choose to allow editing. So I want to be able to edit that. So I'm going to click apply. Then you can decide whether you want to add someone else in. You can also do this by adding in a group email. So if you have a group email within SharePoint, you can type that in there, or you can add a message if you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and send. So the link is sent. Okay, that's my folder shared across. So, you know, it's kind of, it'll come up here on sharing when I access that. But again, just to manage the access on that, if you just click in on the ellipses, I'll do that again there because it was quite quick. So click on the ellipses, manage access, and then here you can modify what you want to do with that, or who kind of has access or who doesn't. So I've clicked in there. This link works for Ashley Stevens. I want to take that down. So I don't want to be able to access it. So X off. So I'm removing that access. That's really important there, just in case you know, it gets shared with the wrong person by mistake. So I'm just going to repeat through that again. Click on the ellipses, manage access. So within here, if you've given direct access, if you click on that, you can take that away. Okay. Okay, so I think that is sharing files and folders. So I'm going to come back and see, is there any questions coming up? Now, so where are we at with questions? Okay, so really good question there. I think Yvette has answered that off there. Basically, whatever you share at the top level. So for example, the IT2A folder was shared across. If that's shared with learners, whatever files are within that, they will have access to that. But it's really important there to decide whether you want them to have access to edit or not. You don't want them kind of changing something by mistake and not realizing that actually it's happened across all of your files. Okay, what new questions are coming in there? Okay, so I'm coming back to work after being on a career break. In the past, as a learner, I've used Blackboard and Moodle. Can Microsoft 365 cover similar functions such as polls, discussions and quizzes? And also, is there anything to check plagiarism or just use Turnitin separately? Really, really good question there. So 100% within Teams, you can use polls, quizzes, you can integrate and embed different apps. I really recommend you check out the first session in the morning. That will cover an introduction to Microsoft Teams in the classroom. So I think you'd find that very useful if you're looking at that. But again, it comes back to, I suppose, at program level or at center level, depending on where you're working, what virtual learning environment will be used there. You know, for me, it's really, really important that the same VLE is used across a program, so that on the student end, they will only be using one. Now, with that being said, you can still, and I would recommend it actually, using Microsoft Teams kind of with Moodle, in the sense that it gives you the kind of the live lessons or meeting functions there. And it's really good for kind of quick communications, and they can have the app on their phone. But then you can still kind of build your kind of learning content on Moodle. So really, I suppose programs and centres will have maybe already have or will be having a discussion around what their approach will be for virtual learning environments for students. So I hope that has answered your question there. Okay, so how do I make the default storage location local on my machine so that files don't disappear? Okay, so if you're looking to make the default storage location local, the easiest thing for you to do is to use your file manager, as I would have shown there. With that, you know, again, I would recommend that you, as much as possible, try to keep your documents and your files on Office 365. It just keeps them secure and it keeps them safe and they're backed up. But 100%, if you're just using file save as and then you choose documents or desktop or wherever, they will be saved locally. But I would recommend the move to Office 365. Okay. So just having a look at other questions there. Okay, so if you add and share something new to a folder, is there an email sent to inform the person or group? No, there's not. Not at all. Now you can choose to do it yourself. So basically, kind of when you share or when you add a new file or folder within, if you reshare it, you can add a message, but it doesn't happen automatically. So I hope that's answered your question there. Okay, so let me see. So if a learner downloads a file you share, can they then change it and reshare it? 100% they can indeed, yeah. So there's a couple of different options there for you. So say, for example, if it's a Word document, within Word, you can choose if you want to make some sections of it read-only, but it's starting to get a little bit more complicated at that stage. So what you can do is share a Word document with them with view access only. They can then download it and they can make the changes that you want to it and then upload it back to you. So I hope that's answered that question. Okay. Okay. So I think that's all the questions there. I'm going to leave the Q&A open for another couple of minutes. So if anybody would like to pop a question in, please feel free to do so. I will be monitoring the Q&A, so I'll leave it open for about 10 minutes there in case you come up with anything that you'd like to ask. For all of the questions that were asked today, later on this evening, I will share them out with a really brief answer within the Teams PD Hub. So I hope you find the session useful, and if you even picked up one tip, I'd be happy with that. But most of all, kind of for anyone who is feeling a little bit nervous about making the move to Office 365, I hope you feel a little bit better about it now. Just to note as well, within the PD Hub on Teams, there is short bite-sized videos as well, and they will be updated regularly in the coming weeks. So you can check back there and I will publish notifications of when that video content is added to. So if you have any more questions, I will leave the Q&A open. Please pop your questions in, they're very valuable. And I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you very much for joining in.